The Latent Prism is a lucite and mylar sculpture layering samples from an aerial photograph generative machine learning model. Coiled about beneath are 17,000 credits for each image used to train the model. Looking down through the transparent layers of synthetic aerial imagery gives a ghostly impression of rising sea levels, an echo of the carbon considerations to training large models. Here we see the video from which the frames were extracted, undulating from a forested to ocean bird's-eye view. The video comes from a model called a Generative Adversarial Network, or GAN for short. GANs work by pitting two models in competition with one another. A generator model, G, attempts to create realistic images to fool a discriminator model, D, which is presented with real images called training data and fake images created by the generator. The discriminator then attempts to flag the forgeries. Over time, both models improve in their abilities, and the generator model finds a probabilistic mathematical representation of the training data stored in latent space. Can you play discriminator? Which of these images is the forgery? How do you know? What about now? What features of the images tip you off to the fake? We can think of latent space as a high-dimensional vector space. Okay, scary words, but think of it this way. We know what 2D looks like, we know what 3D looks like. Even if it becomes hard to visualize 4D or 5D or 512D, we can imagine that we could still reason mathematically about locations and distances in higher dimensional space. In fact, we could imagine what it might look like to walk around in this space by locating the images with characteristics at varying points along each of these vectors. Maybe if humans were placing landscapes into high-dimensional space, they might make vectors for forested, has lakes, sandy soil, nighttime, mountainous, or rainy. Machine learning models might not represent things in such semantically meaningful ways, but they still have a similar complex probabilistic impression of this image repository. So we could wander through latent space across a random plane, as in this image from Runway ML's exploratory GUI, or even perform a latent walk, a sort of tour through the mathematical impression made by the training process. And if we were to animate these walks, we could imagine getting very different films from traversing new paths through latent space. The Latent Prism takes one such video and, extracting frames, layers them in translucent panels illuminated from below. This sculpture involved a lot of experimentation, as mixing prints and adhesive can be a challenging combination. Getting a crisp edge on lucite is also a very slow process. But it was important to me to make the space between the images appear as weightless and clear as possible to allow the light to filter through. The images I used to train this generative adversarial network come from a database I curated of royalty-free stock photographs from sources such as Pexels and Unsplash. Because I had scraped all of the images myself, I had metadata for all of the photographs, including image title and author name. With so much criticism of AI as a tool coming from people upset about copyright infringement and models not crediting authors, I wanted to differentiate this piece and draw attention to the fact that I had curated all of the training data to respect the usage requirements of the original creators, however unwieldy to document. In total, I collected around 17,000 images and present the credits as part of the gallery tag. I hope you'll come to the VIS Arts Program exhibition to view Latent Prism in person.